just, you've seen a GSL final before.
Wow.
5-0 predictions, by the way, for Maru here, including us. Brendan, what's your prediction? Brendan also predicts Maru, so an 8-0 prediction.
Yep. Yeah, no surprise there. It makes a lot of sense. And as you were saying, this is an entire year of these teams playing this league to get to this stage. It's such an important grand finals. It's the only team league in the world, really, that doesn't have this scale. So it really does deserve the viewership of everyone that loves StarCraft. And as we see these players set up, here is Dream, 10-5 this year. One of the best Terran players for sure for SKT and in general. And he's done so much for the Terran race over this year.
Yeah, and you know, he still has the upwards arrow, in fact, which is kind of interesting because even though we say he's been a bit out of form recently, we just haven't seen him play as much. So the arrow is based on your last 5 or so Pro League games. So even though he doesn't play that much recently, he's still got a lot of wins in recent played matches in Pro League. Yeah, and he's got an insane record at 10-5.
Yeah, and not to mention the fact that he made it to the semis in GSL recently, only dropping to Innovation before that grand final. So he's really been doing a lot for himself. He's really come back into form. Everyone was kind of worried at the end of this year, like, where is Maru? The team needs him now. Like, the playoffs are around the corner. He has to start delivering. Very lucky that SOS kind of delivered in the last couple of matches as well.
Now let's take a look at these TBT stats here. Dream in Pro League, only playing 4 games. Maru, on the other hand, 7. He's 5-2. He has the better record. He has a better record overall. Looking at the last recent 10 games, you can see Dream was on a bit of a rough streak, but his last recent 3 took some win. Maru as well. But again, both these players not being fielded as consistently. Maru also being fielded late in the matches, not always necessarily playing.
Yeah.
And he's got a 13-10 record above Dream. A lot of that, of course, comes from the Star League finals.
Yep, that's right. Yeah, look at this. Also the map data, including an official, more favoring Dream in ratio, but you know, not really that many games to go off either. It's going to be interesting. Yeah, Dream, I mean, look at his last 10 games as well. Like, he's had a bad couple of months, you know, at least, where Maru is really starting to pick up the pace.
Now, we don't have that much information about what these two players have been able to do recently in-house. This game will be decided by form and condition today. How good are these players' forms that we have not been seeing as they've had some time off, neither of them playing the top rounds of the GSL or Star League, and we've had a long break before this finals. So we haven't seen these players, especially Dream has had an insanely long break. So he could have actually gone up to massive form. He could be better than he was when he made it to the Star League finals. We don't know. We don't know the condition of the players today. We only know that both players seem confident in interviews, but it doesn't really mean much at all. Yeah,
it really is a huge advantage for SKT as well to get that first seed so dominantly. So their players can take a big rest, and Dream certainly needed one. So did Sue, and a lot of those other players that did so well earlier in the year but had to take a break towards the end. They get to come into this grand final so refreshed and ready in practice.
All right, guys. Well, both players are in the game, in the lobby now. There's the trophy. The winning team will take this trophy home. SKT wants that win. They've won so many Pro League seasons. Jinner has none. They made 3 finals. They fought their way to this finals through grand postseason winning over KT in an upset, but they couldn't make it look like an upset, as Valdez said. And then SOS basically destroyed CJ himself.
SOS, I'm sure he's pretty sad that he doesn't get to all kill today, because that's probably one of their best chances to win this whole thing. But he's certainly going to have a big role to play in the upcoming match against Innovation as well. Yeah, Jinner have done amazing things. They've really come a long way. They've caused a lot of upsets, but it kind of shows a lot with their preparation. They're so good. Some of their players, SOS and Rogue, they know how to prepare. And Maru as well to some extent, but I'm hoping he's kind of fixed in TBT after that GSL semis. He knows what he has to do against Dream, who has pretty much his very own style. He's very drop-oriented as well in this matchup. We'll see if he's mixed it up and he's going with mech this time instead.
Exactly, and something else to keep in mind is Dream is just simply put not on Innovation's level right now. He's not that kind of Terran player. You know, they are teammates. In fact, he has a lot to study from Innovation. He can learn a lot. But this is an easier opponent. all things considered, for Maru to face than his teammate Innovation. Innovation, the scariest one. And I feel like Jin Air can be very happy that SOS hits Innovation, because I feel like out of all their players, SOS has the best chance of taking him out.
Yeah, he's certainly got a lot of tricks up his sleeve that, might be able to take apart Innovation, because he is certainly the best Terran right now as well.
Yeah, perhaps the best player that SKT has brought to the table. I mean, he is the most recent GSL champion. He made it very far in Star League, and he has an incredible record in this tournament as well. So you guys can see there's a ton of fans here at the Garden stage, and they're more wrapped around kind of this open ice skating rink that we have. That you can see the screen from very far away, so people all around are actually just coming over here, stopping by and seeing what is happening. This is such an important tournament. This is, again, a year in the making. Jin Air, round 1 finalists failed, round 2 finalists failed, round 3 finalists failed, and then round 4 they got 7th place.
Yeah.
Second to last, and they made it to the finals. They're up 1-0. I get the same sort of feeling I got last season. Everyone says SKT is going to win. Everybody wants KT to win. In this case, it's the same. Everybody says SKT is going to win, but I feel there's a lot more Jin Air fans, a lot more people want Jin Air to win tonight, and they do have the momentum right now.
They certainly do. It's such a big win to start things off here. It really does build momentum into this next game as well, where they have one of their best players playing right now against Dream, who certainly is not the best player in SKT. He's been having trouble. So they could certainly get a nice lead off of this and build into even further down the track. I wouldn't be surprised, to be honest, if Jin Air did come ahead in this. They are such a good team, and they've really come online in the postseason playoffs. And SKT, they've been dominant all year until this point before. They do have the greatest players, but they do seem to choke in this kind of situation.
Last year I looked at coaches and I looked at improved teams, and I had to say at the end of the year, Coach Park, Coach of the Year to me. This year, I'm going to have to go with the Jin Air coach. He really turned things around. He's a very emotional coach. He had a lot of issues with the team. He had a lot of sit-downs with them after their losses, of course, in the round finals. And he just looks so determined. He looks like he's really getting his players pumped, getting them ready, and also training them to do really cool builds. He's showing a lot of variety in their lineup that we did not see before. Pig Baby and Trap coming in today, and the off players, even Cure showing a new and cool build.
Yeah.
And these players are suddenly leveling up. Suddenly, you could sue in Pig Baby before, most people would be like, yeah, no way. But Pig Baby took an impressive win just recently, and sometimes these things can happen. Jin Air is working really hard to prepare for this finals, and no doubt SKT as well, but
there's certainly a lot of great preparation players on that team of Jin Air, as you said, Trap and Pig Baby especially. That guy, he's going to all-in soon. It's just about what kind of all-in and when it's going to happen on Iron Fortress. A great map for it. That's why they put him there. That's why he was there when he defeated TY. He is a hell of a good player in those best-of-1 snipe sort of situations, which is what today is all about.
That's right, and that's what it was all about when he beat TY. It's a really good placement. Jin Air is really thinking about every single piece of every game that they have set out here. I feel like SKT is as well, but the way they're looking at it is almost like we've got so many good players. We could be a little bit more flexible with who we send out on each map. I feel like if I look at the lineup today, I really, really like how Jin Air has brought their players. We can talk about that a little bit later, perhaps as the series kind of develops a little bit, why these players kind of got sent out on which maps, or why they might have done well. For example, in Game 1, there's not much we can talk about it just yet. That was just the TBT. They might have expected to see a Terran player there. But it also could have just been that Kira was like, all right, I'm just going to play safe against Sorry.
Sure.
Better safe than sorry, as they say.
Absolutely. Just a straight-up build, and it was a perfect sort of answer to that proxy. So it really did make a lot of sense. He probably did a lot of research as well for Sorry, and Sorry, kind of the guy that will proxy you. So it really was a good answer for that. But going into this one, it's kind of a bit harder because both these players are so solid, so well-rounded. Dream has more of a one-dimensional style in TBT, at least in the past he's had, especially when he was dominant in Star League. These days, though, it's so hard to say because he's had so much time to evolve and change his style as well.
I feel like Dream was a new age version. He's like a Neo Marine King from 2011, like mass doom drops. I'm gonna find the one moment where you're not ready, and 8 medevacs are gonna come in your base. I'm gonna rip it to shreds. I'm gonna evacuate and move somewhere else, or I'm just gonna constantly drop you with Hellbats, constantly drop you, constantly harass you. in the new mech age where we've seen players like Gumiho do Thor drops and move in with Thors to try to snipe buildings, even in the TVZ matchup, I feel like we're going to see a little bit more movement out of Dream when it comes to mech. I do expect both players will mech if this game goes long.
Yeah.
But I think there's about as equal of a chance that this game will be decided before this game goes to the 3-base for both players, maybe by a timing attack.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. It's really going to come down to what these players want to do. What does Dream have planned for the early mid-game? It's really going to dictate the game.
Well, guys, it looks like everything is finally ready here. Sorry for the wait. Let's go into game number 2, Dream versus Maru.
정말 많은 팬들께서 기다리셨습니다. 기다림 끝에 달콤한 것이 오거든요. 여러분들의 함성과 함께 달콤한 경기 시작하겠습니다.
Welcome to set 2 here of the grand finals for the 2015 Pro League. Up to the top left in orange, it is Dream for SKT.
Down here in the bottom right for Generic Green Wings, it is Maru, the top dog of Team Generic, the Terran player. Done so much for the team. He's really going to have to pull his weight here, though. He's really got to get a win, keep that momentum going for Generic as they get deeper and into the more dangerous territories, the more dangerous matchups.
Sure. No, I would say that, you know, on your point, in Generic, we have found that towards the end of the year, there's one star player for each race. Maru is the Terran, Rogue is the Zerg, and SOS is the Protoss. Now, of those 3 high-profile players, the player that has impressed the least out of those 3 in the last few months has actually been Maru. Rogue's been showing the amazing games, the cool flying Locust strategies, the Baneling drops. He's been the big fan favorite. SOS, reverse all killing. He's on fire. He's traveling around the world and coming back and destroying people as he destroys people overseas. Maru, on the other hand, has been a bit dormant. We have not seen this sleeping giant, if you will, come back to form yet, come back out and impress everyone, saying, oh my god, he just killed, you know, 2 Colossi with 7 Marauders.
Yeah, it's been a long time since we've seen him do that, especially. And I completely agree with you here. Like, Maru's got a lot to prove today. He is facing a similar sort of opponent, though, in terms of where they are at right now in their career, how they're playing right now, what's happened to them this year. They've gone through the same sort of motions, I guess you could say. So I think they're pretty evenly matched when it comes down to it. It's just about which play is going to come out today on top.
That's right. Like I said before, it's all about form and condition. You know, how are these players doing? How good is their condition today? So build-wise here, we have a really similar gas timing, about a 12 gas lead for Dream currently.
Yeah, nothing too out of the ordinary here. Very, very close in terms of gas, and then factory timings as well.
Yeah, just a slight lead on Maru's factory.
Yeah, it kind of looked like Dream got his just a little bit later, and a little bit more gas as well, which is interesting.
Yeah, I think with a faster gas mining, he lost a little bit of minerals, which is what ended up delaying his factory minerals, and his barracks ended up being a little bit later. But we're going to have a Reaper coming out for Dream, whereas Maru is going for that more, I guess, just gas light style, getting the Marine first. And is actually going to go into a very fast second gas.
Yeah.
With the gas this quick, I would expect he will commit to at least a Banshee here. That
usually is the case, you know, like getting a second gas this early on. It really just means Cloak Banshee. And that's something that we've seen so often from Maru. He's done such great work with it in the past. He really knows how to use them and kind of utilize them throughout the entire game. It's not like something he just throws out once. He'll keep making them, and he'll keep trying to find ways to do more SCV harassment.
Yeah, we saw this in the finals between these 2 players, that he could show mid and late game Banshee harass to great effect. The Dream is going to do a small move out here. There are 3 Marines waiting, and I don't think that this is going to gain him any information. And we see this is going to be a super fast starport with a tech lab on it. Very quickly here, we'll be able to research Cloak right away if that is in fact his plan. Let's see.
Oh. It looks like it just might be.
Oh, he's going for a rushed Raven here.
All right, so more of a defensive style here. Doesn't want to commit too much. Just play the smart game against someone like Dream, who is known to put on the aggression early. And as for Dream, you know, he's just getting that earlier expansion. kind of cutting corners here. He's got that map control with a Reaper and a couple of Hellions, soon to be 3. I'm kind of getting the feel that we might just be seeing mech from him.
I think so too. The starport is nearly complete for Dream, which is important because even though this is going to be a Raven first, he is following up with Cloak. Cloak is on the way. So it's going to be kind of a fake Raven. The Raven will still be useful, no doubt. It's a very expensive unit that's going to build a lot of energy early, but it's going to be the later surprise Cloak.
Oh.
And he does not get to see it, nor does he see the Raven, in fact, or the Tech Lab even.
I think he saw enough. He saw a naked factory. That kind of gives away a lot about where that starport is and what it has on top of it.
It's funny because had he seen the Raven, he might feel more safe. But he didn't see anything at all, so now he could assume potentially that there are Cloaked Banshees.
Yeah.
He's getting his own Viking up at home.
Yeah, he's just playing defensively on his own. You know, down goes that engineering bay as well. So he's got the anti-air he needs to kind of zone out Banshees for a little while until that engineering bay is finished up.
And he's probably going to get a Raven here as well, yep. Everything, like you said, safety-wise. Dream does have a slight lead with the CC. The only thing that Maru really has going for him that Dream does not is, well, he had Cloak. It looks like that's either finished or canceled. I believe it was canceled. And he has more energy on his Raven. He does have an earlier sort of small army to help protect his CC. And he is going to take a 3rd CC here, which I think is smart because if he did not, then I think overall Dream would eventually end up being ahead just simply because the CC was there. It's already mining. He's already got 2 mules dropping.
Yeah, absolutely agree with that. He certainly got it up a lot earlier, so this is a great way to catch up. And we'll see when Dream is going to commit to his next one as well. And what's he going to go into beyond this? We're actually seeing another factory go up already. So Dream's certainly looking for that mech style. And it's just going to be about what Maru's got to do, when's he going to identify this, and how is he going to approach his army? Because we've seen him try this time and time again against Innovation, where he goes bio or bio tank against the mech, and he ends up failing. You know, he just doesn't find a way in. Granted, Dream certainly is not an Innovation, but he practices with him all the time.
Yeah. We saw MMA, I believe, versus Flash, where Flash is doing a very similar build to what Maru is doing, very risky 3rd CC with not a lot of ground army units, and he got punished for it. But because Dream is not building an army to punish this 3rd CC right now, it should likely go up without a hitch. Now this Banshee does not have Cloak, I don't believe. My monitor's a bit cut off. I don't think it actually finished. I think pretty sure he canceled it. But he's not going to be able to find anything. Even with Cloak, it would be a challenge just considering that there's a Raven out, there's multiple Vikings out as well.
Yeah, it's just too late for it, especially with that Raven. A good opportunity to kind of try and do some harassment, try and scout out what you can, maybe get a little bit of map control with it, push away these Hellions, but beyond that, not going to find too much. And look at that, it is going to be that bio tank style, and it's going to be up against mech.
Yeah, this is going to be really interesting. I was wondering, because Maru was continuing to produce Marines, was he going to be going for this bio with tanks? And was he going to push out early because he kept making Marines? And sometimes when you see players make Marines this early, down goes the Banshee meanwhile, when you see players make Marines this early, oftentimes it means that they simply want to do a push with Vikings. But with a 3rd CC, it seemed less unlikely. He is going to push out now that he's seen the 3rd CC of Dream. But Dream has a lot of units to defend here. It's going to be about, you know, getting them into position.
I think it's just simply a feint. You push it on the map, apply some pressure while you take your own 3rd base. There's no real way Maru's going to be doing any sort of aggressive moves until he's got Stim finished and maybe some Marauders to help out against that kind of ball of Hellions.
It is a ton of Hellions, in fact. There are 8 on the map right now, and of course, he does have the Viking lead just slightly. Both players are actually going double Viking. We've seen that Vikings play a huge role in this matchup right now. Not as much as they used to be for tank vision, of course that does happen, but oftentimes it's for about stopping Hellbats from dropping on top of your army.
Certainly, sir. That's such a dangerous thing to deal with in this matchup at this point, and it's definitely something that Dream's going to be looking forward to coming later into this game. It really just puts everything out of position for the bio turn, and it just does so much damage so quickly, and it really forces your tanks to be shooting something they don't want to be shooting, which is the Hellbats dropping on your army.
I do worry for Maru building a composition like this. He's just now got Stim, he's getting 1-1 upgrades, but he has no army to pressure with currently, and by the time that he does, Dream will have set up enough Hellbats as well as enough siege tanks to likely deflect most of those attacks. He's sitting pretty on 3 bases. He's going to have 6 gases up very soon. In fact, they're finishing up right now, 5 and 6. And once he has that, he's going to have a massive amount of production. He also has just the right amount of air control to where Maru is not going to be able to surprise him with a surprise switch into Banshees or even BCs later on to the 4th base.
Yeah.
I like Dream's position a lot here.
Yeah, Dream's actually in a great place. This is a great map for mech as well, and the later this gets, the scarier it gets for Maru as well. As the Bio Terran, you want to be trying to push the mech player, trying to find ways in to do damage, harass, and slow down that giant mech ball that it's trying to get to in the late game. It nearly becomes impossible to deal with it at a certain point here. So Maru's on a timer right now. He's got to get that army up, he's got to get the economy up, and he's got to find a way in. He's got to find a way to engage his army before it becomes unstoppable.
Now, he did just drop a good scan. It revealed the composition of Dream, which he already kind of knew was going down the mech path, but now he knows how many Hellbats are in it, how many tanks are in it, are there any Thors in this, how many Vikings. I noticed that Dream has stopped making Vikings. He's switching into Medivacs for his Hellbats, whereas Maru is actually continuing to make Vikings, which means he's at now a 3 Viking lead and wants to be at a 5 Viking lead. He also has, full energy on a Raven, so he could make a switch into air units later on a little bit faster.
Yeah, I do like that, and it's certainly a transition that the Bio Terran can make at a certain point. It's about finding that window, and it's usually behind like a bit of an economic advantage. But we're now seeing this huge push forwards for Maru. He does have that air advantage, as you mentioned. Let's see if he can find a way in, though. It's going to be the next question. And can he stop these drops from getting on top of the tanks?
He wants to win this air battle. Then he's just going to try to use those Medivacs, or rather those Vikings, to stop the Medivacs from dropping Hellbats onto his army. He's now using the vision control to try to wipe some tanks, but he's really miscontrolling this, and a nice repair here from Dream.
Repair. It saved the tank completely from those 2 tanks shelling it. So that's actually a huge advantage for Dream going into this defense.
Yep, he still doesn't have the Viking count that Maru does, but he's got turrets to help protect these. Already going to be a good fight here, though, for Maru's Vikings. He's trying to find an angle here. Those turrets helping to zone, but still, Maru is doing a good job of zoning, and he is building that air advantage. In fact, Dream being forced to make Thors. He is going for a Hellbat drop. Oh. There's no turrets nearby. There's no units here nearby.
It might even force Maru to go for this 3rd base a little quicker than he wanted to. Dream really out of position right now, though, so only sieging up tanks now, but it's not going to be in range of the other tanks. It's not going to really stop the other tanks from shelling those refineries, especially.
Well, 6 dead SCVs here for Maru already, and it's just the beginning if he doesn't deal with those.
I think he's going to be forcing Dream's hand right now. Dream kind of getting in a position to crash into this army. It's not going to be an easy army to engage into, but here we go.
He's having second thoughts, though, and he's lost a lot of his gas mining, which is very important for a Mech Terran. 7 SCVs in total. I feel like with better control, these drops could have done more, but Dream is panicking a bit. Here we go. He could go for that fight. He's actually going to walk into siege range. Down go the PDDs. Big stem here from Maru's Bio, and he's kiting back. The tanks are already overwhelmed, though.
Yeah, got rid of all the tanks. He can siege up now, and he can cover the rest of his army, but it looks like he's going to be losing the air battle here.
Yeah, he loses the air battle. This Thor will eventually push the Vikings back. There's a lot of dead supply in these Vikings, though. It isn't really that useful for fighting. The Bio survives, which is some of the most important parts of this, but he lost all these tanks, which means he can no longer sit out here. He's going to try to maybe look for a few pickoffs with these Vikings, kill a medevac or so.
Yeah.
But he's lost that air dominance, and he's lost his position of threatening over Dream's bases. So Dream could be very comfortable with this at this moment in time. He finally wants to take his 4th.
Look at this, though. We are seeing Maru kind of creep forwards. He's still got such a mobile army with this huge Bio force. A lot of Marauders mixed in as well. So Dream has to really be on the defensive here, and this is the technical play of a mech player. You got to know when to move out, when to stay. He doesn't have a 4th base right now, and that is kind of crucial at this point for a mech Terran. They got to get those 8 gases up and running so they can remax if they have to. They can build a bank behind their maxed out mech army, and just in a better position on the map as well with another planetary.
Yeah, planetary set up here for Maru. Oh, he finds an angle, but there's Bio here, although it just moved away for some reason.
A lot of damage going down here. 6 SCVs that shouldn't have gone down. But look at this, another drop into 3rd base.
Oh man, Maru's starting to lose a lot of SCVs here. Now dropping about 10 SCVs down. A big stim here to chase. Expensive to do when you've got a mostly Viking air army and not very many medevacs.
Yeah, absolutely. 30 more SCVs down. The maxed out mech army stands still and waits while this harassment's going down. It's going to give Dream a lot of openings to move out to the map soon as well. This is a scary army he's made right now.
This is forcing drops to come back to defend, which then takes further control off the map away from Maru. And Dream is now making that air transition to additional starports to control the air. +2 air on the way for both players at this moment in time. Maru does have some upgrades for his Bio, but only 5 tanks to 15 currently, and again, he finds a sweet spot here.
Finds another way in here. More SCVs going down, and a lot more mining time lost. This is a huge disadvantage for Maru. He's getting further and further behind, but look at this. Maru moving up the middle of the map here. He's going to be trying to deny this 4th base, but
man,
not in position.
No way. That's so many tanks. There are 15 tanks on the map for Dream and 22 Hellbats. The Hellbats will easily buffer enough for those tanks. Attacking to this location is not going to work.
Yeah. Look at this army. It's pure ground. It's all Marauder, tank, Marine. That's going to have such a hard time ever engaging this sieged up army.
That army right there is like looking through a time machine of this matchup. That's an old composition. We don't see that succeed anymore.
No, it gets redundant, and this is the time of the game when it starts to really show. You know, you don't really find a way in anymore. There's so many sensor towers around the map that you're never going to get surprised by this composition. And if there's no sensor towers, there's plenty of scans to go down as well. But look at this, he's going to move out again. Already scanned. There's no way he can engage into this.
No way. And sensor towers are now up as well. With the sensor towers, he doesn't even need to scan anymore. He only scans to find out exactly how many units are committed to there. Hellions are again finding their way into Maru's mineral lines, denying him precious mining time right now. He's down now almost 20 harvesters. He's going to lose even more as the SCVs line up.
No, this is huge damage. He's not even looking at them right now. So much damage going down. His economy's in shambles. This might actually force him into a big fight that he doesn't want to take.
A big fight that he cannot take. Look at the sensor towers, man. It's the Olympic rings over there at the top left of the bases. And how is he going to try to find this? It looks like he's going to try to drop onto tanks and planetary. This definitely is Dream's weakest link.
It is.
Can he find the damage? I don't think so.
It's still a planetary. The army is behind it as well. We're going to see a huge air fight underneath the planetary. Planetary goes down, but so does a huge chunk of Maru's army.
Yeah, it ends up being a fairly even trade supply-wise here, but keep in mind, Maru does still have a large amount of army behind this. He needs to find another angle though, and he doesn't have the economy to replace his bio-army as comfortably as he would have. He double cancels CCs to make units right now because he's in such a bad position economy-wise at 44 SCVs.
Yeah, it really is such a bad place, and we still see Dream on those 4 bases as well. So he's keeping at least equal in terms of bases, but much further ahead in economy. Look at that. Look at the numbers. It says a lot about this matchup right now. And you never want to see that as the bio player. Mech player, he just has to sit there and remax this perfect army, while the bio player is trying to get enough units to even be a threat on the map.
That's right. Well, this game isn't over by any means. You know, this is still... Dream doesn't have the army to kill yet. You know, he's trying to basically slowly creep across the map. He's going to make even another sensor tower here you know, basically it's making a piece of the Venn diagram where it's like all the circles combined. It's like what's in common with all these circles is they can see Maru's movements
everywhere.
That's what's alike on this Venn diagram.
That's all there is to it. You know, he's never going to find a way in to surprise him. So Maru, he's going to be splitting his army constantly, trying to find a way in. But look at this, another drop coming into the natural.
This is, again, what we talked about. He loves his drops. He loves his mass Hellbat drops constantly throughout the game. He finds damage, and Maru is just simply not responding.
Oh, gets picked off there, but still, just more and more damage going down. And look at this, he's moving towards that middle-bottom base of Maru. Only a small part of that army is there. He can't really fight this, but he's going to try and jump on some of these tanks.
PDD's really helping out here against those Marauders. He tries to find an angle here. I just don't think this is going to be very successful. There's a lot of secret missiles being cast here as well on the siege tanks. Going to buy time for Dream to send the majority of his army back. And again, Maru cannot afford to lose this entire army right now because his economy is so shot. More secret missiles being cast, and Maru is just simply not responding to these siege tanks. Looks like he's going to lose all of them. I'm finding another angle here.
This is another bad angle as well. He's going to be dropping on top of the tanks, but they already got the damage off, and now Dream can rotate back down on top of Maru's army, and everything's getting cleaned up. Look at the supply difference right now.
70 supply down is Maru. He's got nothing left. He has 400 minerals and 900 gas, but he looks like he's going to lose his planetary. He's flying the remainder of his medivacs into this death ball of anti-air. 3 Thors and tons of Vikings.
So much anti-air here. He maybe should wait for tanks if he wants to try to clean this up, but he's got so many Ravens, maybe he can just zone them out with Seeking missiles and turrets. Going to pull back for now, but look at that supply difference still. It's about getting the whole army together and going for that push.
There are 11 Ravens on the map. Don't even make Marauders anymore. They are never going to hit anything with PDDs active.
No chance at all. I think the only thing missing from this army is battle cruisers or tanks. That's one thing that kind of help push forwards.
Yeah. Yeah, he only has 4 tanks, which means his range damage is somewhat lackluster. He's not able to kill structures like planetaries with this sort of composition just yet. And with a good defensive setup for Maru, of course, he doesn't want to crash into that. And look at how quickly, because of the composition that Maru is building, it's an inferior composition, but it's an easier to make one. So even though he was down 70 supply, look, now he's only down 20 supply because it's a really quick building composition that you can make with dropping mules.
It's cheap and quick to make, that's for sure, but it also dies about as quick as well if he's fighting the readied mech army that is maxed out at this point and marching towards that middle base.
It's like the Kroger brand army, man. It's just cheaper, but it's not as good. It's just simply not as quality as the army of Dream.
Oh, look at this. Finding a nice sort of place here to fight at least some of the Hellbats, but never going to be able to fight on top of siege tanks.
Well, I mean, it's amazing that Maru has survived in this game. This is a lone little siege tank.
I mean, SCVs could kill that tank, so this is an ambitious move from Dream, but I guess he found a tank over there, he might as well use it.
It's actually starting to rack up some damage. It's killed 3 SCVs already and denied a turret and a CC.
He killed the command center as well with that.
It's actually forcing a response. And this is what I was going to say. The reason why Maru survives in this game is because Dream's composition is not a pushing composition. It is finally now able to push this with that one tank, levering a little bit of leverage over there. But now he's actually sort of trying to get into range of this planetary with those siege tanks.
Well, here's the other thing that Bios can do is simply go for the counterattack here. Something that Dream's looking out for and what Maru's looking to do. So he's going to be starting to siege that middle base here. We see a couple of tanks there.
Just 2, you know.
But everything else is moving up here.
And even with, you know, the composition of Maru, there are 11 tanks on the map for Dream. He's actually getting his late game cloak. He's still making siege tanks, and he's got a few Banshees in here as well. He's trying to use PDDs to zone this out. He needs more tanks, I feel, if he really wants to challenge this army, because his air army is becoming irrelevant quickly, and that's why Maru is able to stay alive in this game, because he can just simply avoid this army, repair this planetary, and just kind of ignore it.
That's always the threat, right? The threat of counterattack. Despite this huge sort of bank for Dream at this point, which is a huge advantage over Maru, he just can't find the hits, but no.
That's a lot of damage there. Maru is actually panicking a bit. He's going to try to engage here. He's got a decent concave, and there's a lot of air units here. So he's trying to get in on top of those tanks. He's just barely not able to.
No way. Simply sieged up tanks. A lot of Seeker missiles going down as well. Actually, everything blowing up. He might be able to overwhelm.
He overwhelms the majority of these tanks. And keep in mind, Maru has a composition that's easily rebuilt. So if they trade evenly, the favor goes to Maru. But look at the bank of Dream. He just needs to get cranking.
Yeah, he's got such a bank. He's got to just wait and remax again. And look at the income of Maru right now. It's slowly trickling up at this point. He's got 2 mining bases, but they're just not heavily saturated. And he's having some trouble here. But let's see what he can do. He does have that window of opportunity now that he traded out a lot of those tanks.
I think the window is closing quickly. It's slamming closed. In fact, as Dream now is, because he's lost so many units, he has more freed up supply to build a better composition. He lost those Thors that are no longer relevant. He's replacing them with siege tanks. He's going to keep 13 Vikings on the map. He's actually going to continue to build them just in case Maru had enough money to try to make that sort of air switch. He's going to prevent that. He's going to get a few Hellbats to buffer, and he's just going to build more tanks. He still has 7 Ravens on the map as well to help combat these Marauders, and I think that's really all he needs.
Yeah, we're seeing 3 more on the way. I mean, you can never have too many Ravens with this kind of situation. It's dropping Seeker missiles, constantly zoning out an enemy army, and also saving your tanks with point defense drones. And I do like that he's making more and more tanks. I hope he keeps going that way. But this army is purely ground-based at this point. A lot of medivacs that are going to help out with dropping on tanks, but the amount of Vikings we do have currently for Dream should be more than enough.
Dream is just trying to basically build the perfect composition, add extra mules. He's even taking that base to the bottom left, which actually Maru has not yet detected, which is kind of funny. That's going to give him a little bit better gas income. This could be a big engagement here, but look at the siege tanks on the low ground protecting this. Definitely not going to be where Maru wants to fight.
Hold that thought there. Counterattack here could do a lot of work.
This is more promising. He might actually get this. The burst damage is huge on those Marauders, and even with the repair, he does grab this. Dream still has a massive bank, so this is a small victory. It's going to be baby steps here for Maru for the rest of this game, trying to get back into it.
Yeah, at the same time, though, I feel like this is really going to open up an opportunity for Dream to actually just go for an attack. You know, there's only so many places that Maru's going to be counterattacking before Dream's like, you know what, I'm just going to bring my whole army together and crush you. Because you're splitting up your army too much, and I don't have that many objectives left on the map for me to defend even. But look at this, a bad position for these tanks.
Yeah. But look, there's enough Vikings to repair. Here comes the other angle. As you mentioned, there's a few Hellbats here and Seeker missiles, and that's going to zone this army out.
Not good at all. A lot of damage there.
Finds another angle here on this base. There's another base that's coming in. It might actually die as well. Maru is finally starting to show the mobility of Bio in these matchups.
Big hit on the Marines. I feel like Dream just has to group his army together, go for a push. Don't get pulled around by these counterattacks. Sure, you might get pulled into a base trade situation, but if you have that giant mech ball, you can trade much more efficiently in that kind of situation.
There was a moment there for a minute where Dream was just simply not producing units. It's almost as if he's trying to decide what composition he really wants to build to combat Maru. You know, he was down to 160 supply with nothing on the production tab. Now he's like caught himself, but that worries me for his condition, you know. How is he feeling right now? A big Thor drop over here to try to burst down single target on this Planetary. Thors do so much ground-to-ground damage, but the Planetary will out-repair, it looks like, at least for the time being. Siege tanks come up, but it's not enough. He will kill that Planetary. Finally we're seeing Maru's mobility come into play here.
We are, and Maru's really keeping his bank low though, so if he loses too much in one of these trades and doesn't get anything for a reward there, it might just be too much damage.
Worst way to find this base, by the way.
Yeah, tell me about it. Dream could really go for a counterattack if he finds the right engagement on this kind of army.
Yeah. He finds about that Planetary as it kills his Thors, which means he has less anti-air to help zone these Ravens and Vikings, as well as taking vision away from Maru, which means he has to scan to see the tanks that are sieging up on his Planetary. He doesn't have a large enough flank set up just yet to try to engage this. I think his best bet is to continue to try to harass and pick off these structures.
Well, look at that. A huge composition here. It's a big stim forward, but it's going to be a lot of Hellbats and tanks. I don't know if this is the right choice for Maru.
He just wants to fight. He knows there's a lot of air units here, and they're not a lot on the ground. He's actually just ignoring the Vikings and PDDs, just going for a big fight here. Down go a lot of the Hellbats. He's going to grab the siege tank as well. Maru takes a supply lead, but I don't think he can break that Planetary.
No, not yet, but still a great sort of trade there. Great splitting as well. Really identifying only a few tanks there to defend this as well.
Yeah, he's going to come back. He's going to come back and try to kill these siege tanks.
One Thor is going to try to kill these.
They actually will kill quite a few of them.
It looks like it. At least one. It looks like he might lose the Planetary finally there. This is actually going to be a big hit if he loses it.
Yeah, he's replaced this base with one to the top right. And because Maru doesn't need gas as much, all that really matters is the mules here. Dream has a big a big mineral bank, but no gas, which means his composition is getting very difficult to replace.
Yeah, he's actually in a lot of trouble. If he loses a big chunk of his army, gas-heavy part of the army, he could be it could be in a real big pickle here. He's got to deal with his top right base and the middle base. If he can deal with them at some point, there's only that side of the map to worry about at this point. If he can somehow get his mech army over there, it's really going to starve out Maru at this point, and he's just scouts it now.
Right now, the Jaws are trying to close on Maru, but Maru is coming out of the stomach, man. Like, he is punching his way through some of these structures. He's punching his way through some of these Planetaries. He's trying to kill the economy of Dream. He's trying to kill the gas mining. He has to constantly move back, but he's finding another angle every time. He's going to wipe out a few of these siege tanks. And down to the bottom left, he's sending another group of units using Thors basically as his big damage dealers here. And huge damage on those air units. Yeah. And he's actually sweeping around the left side where he's going to find yet another orbital.
And that's one of the only mining bases left for Dream at this point. Maru's really found his way into Dream's head. Dream just can't find an answer. He's never in the right place. He's never making the correct decisions and how to deal with this kind of counterattack composition. And now he's put his army up too much. He's out of gas. He's got a mineral bank, but that's not very useful against his bio army.
Oh man, this army that Dream has is terrifying when it's all together.
Oh, we can't even see it. What is going on there?
Oh man.
There we go.
There goes the scan. But this army of Maru is showing us that bio can be flexible. Thors can be actually quite useful when there's nothing protecting tanks alone. He's just defending tank drops and tank harassment with Thors. He's even going for some Thor harassment on his own. He's kind of buffering his bio comp with these Thors. He takes again a supply lead. There's only 83 gas in the bank for Dream, and he's going to go for a fight. A huge flank here from Maru. Will it be enough? PDDs go down. Thors from the back, but they're not hitting siege tanks.
Oh my god, simply too many tanks left over. I think those Thors are going to try to clean up the left side, but so many tanks left over.
15 tanks, in fact, and I think this is a bad choice for Maru. Maybe a game-ending mistake.
Game-ending mistake. What a blunder from Maru at this point in the game. He's going to lose the top right base as well, one of his only mining bases left. He had an advantage. He had such a supply advantage. It was about finding the right time to attack.
And that was not it. That was not the right time. He got nervous. He choked. And that is going to put him now at a 100 supply deficit, one he cannot recover from, because even though he has a massive mineral bank, let's be frank, he is going to need the gas for Marauders at this point and for replacing Thors, and he just simply doesn't have it. Dream has the game-ending composition. He's going to slowly come in here. There's no escape. He has so many Vikings. Those mules are going to try to repair these Thors for one last fight. But there's just too many tanks here. I think Maru underestimated the tank count. It's hard to see under that cloud of Vikings and Ravens.
Oh, finally the SDVs go to war, and they will be dealing with those two tanks. But as you were saying, I think he kind of misunderstood what was going on as well. You know, he thought maybe all the tanks were on sieging, and then he went for the big stim in. It wasn't the case.
GG. And Dream gets his revenge versus Maru, and he will bring us back to a tie score 1-1 now.
Unbelievable game there. It went so back and forth, and the fact that Dream somehow got ahead despite being pulled around the map the entire time, that is a titan to take down.
That was a back and forth game. Dream taking early advantages. Maru finally finding his stride in his harassment, finally starting to outmaneuver Dream, and then thought he had enough of an advantage. He thought the siege tank count was small enough that he could crash in. Also, his Thors coming from behind. With that change to their priority, they were shooting at air units and PDDs rather than shooting at the ground units, the tanks from the backline. Had he been able to target those, or had those Thors actually taken priority on the tanks, maybe it would have been a different story. But the 3 big damage-dealing Thors that he flanked with from the north just shot air units. They didn't do the ground-to-ground damage to deal with the tanks.
Certainly
and there were,
not.
with 15 tanks on the ground, that Bioforce is not going to be enough.
No, definitely not. And Maru is looking crushed from that loss. It looked like he was so far ahead for a lot of that game, but Dream finally got that mech army in the right place at the right time and forced Maru's hand into a bad fight. So, well, that's a very important game down, and it's kind of devastating for Maru, I'm sure, losing that one chance he had today to really make a difference for his team. And now we're going to be going into Sue versus Pig Baby, which is also going to be a very exciting match.
That's right, and hopefully we'll have the mic fixed. Otherwise, I'll be giving the mic to Valdez going into Game 3. But I don't know. I believe we're taking a short break before that will happen, but score is tied. You guys out there have a mission, okay? And it's a lot easier than what Dream and Maru were both just doing, battling it back in this amazing, hard TVT with multitasking all over the place. All you have to do is put the link to this stream out there, tell your friends, get on Twitter, get discussing this Grand Finals. Like I said, it's a year in the making. These teams have fought their way to this Grand Finals. Everything is on the line, and we need you guys watching. We want you guys to see this.